I'm hoping that this will be my only AET meeting from bills from the House side, but as always, we will kind of see as we go along here. But you should have an agenda in front of you, and most of these I think will move fairly quickly through. So I'm gonna call up the first bill, House Bill 298 first. You should have a strike all in front of you, and what the strike all does, if you remember from before, we passed Senate Bill 2917 regarding blight. We inserted some language in there regarding the private property rights. All House Bill 298 is it's a strike all that inserts Senate Bill 29. It's disappointing. As passed the Senate, so this is the exact same bill we passed with the amendments that I believe Senator Thompson had right there. So we're just keeping this concept alive on our side. So that's an explanation of the bill. Any questions on the bill? If not, is there a motion? Motion of title sufficient due pass. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Call up the second bill on the agenda, which is House Bill 653, the trip optimizer system. This is exactly the same bill as Senate Bill 2309, which in meeting with my colleague is going to die on the House side. So we are taking the House bill. So all it does is extends the repeal date on the trip optimizer system. Again, it's exactly the same as the bill we passed before, just the House version. So is there any questions on the bill? If not, for a motion? Motion of title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. The third item on the agenda is House Bill 1273, Department of Public Safety, revised various provisions relating to. I'll just continue to switch microphones here as they blink. So what this does is it clarifies the retention of a firearm in sections 1 and 2 of the bill. So this provision is the provision that a person employed as a law enforcement officer or agent of the Department of Public Safety who is killed in the line of duty shall be allowed to retain this personal property as one sidearm. It goes into a little more detail on that, and it also says law enforcement officer and uses the word Department of Public Safety. So that's the first thing it does there, just clean up on that. The second thing that it does is that we have had a state ME advisory council that has included several members. This will kind of reconstitute that and call it the state medical task force, which will have a few more members, and you can find those members in section 5 of the bill. And they're just required to meet annually, and their task in these meetings are to recommend new means to investigate deaths, to identify the ME's resources that are needed, and to make recommendations to enhance the efficiency of the medical examiner's office. So it's just a revamping of that already existing council. I had some talks with Senator Hobson regarding subsection 3 of the bill, the very last page, because there is a provision there to set up a special fund. And I wasn't able to meet with him yet this morning, so I'm going to ask Senator Barrett if he would to make a motion for right now to remove subsection 3 until I can get with the Chair of Appropriations to kind of decide on the best way to handle that. And then we will, if we're going to bring that back, have some language that's agreeable with the Appropriation Chair. So if you'd make that motion.
Sure. I would make a motion that we remove subsection 3 of this bill.
So all in favor of that motion, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so as amended now, are there any questions on the bill? Yes, sir.
Section.
Senator. Yes, yes, I'm sorry. The last page, thank you, Senator Williams. That's
We take the whole section out because that's the only change that's made to the section.
right,
And do a strike.
right.
Does the same thing.
And again, we're going to get clarity on that. So with council, the best way to make that happen will be appreciated. I think we all understand the intent of that at this stage. So if there are no questions on the bill, is there a motion?
Let's do a strike off.
Title sufficient, do pass, strike all is the motion. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Senate Bill, fourth bill on our agenda, Senate Bill 1355. State agencies, Personnel Board, and LBO shall develop salary funding levels. This is a bill that comes by request of Chairman Reed and Chairman Hobson, and evidently somehow inadvertently in the process of meeting, I killed the chairman's bill on this. And so we're gonna keep John Reed's bill alive, and until we can have more discussion on this. But this is to ensure that personnel services actions and payroll will not exceed the salary funding levels provided. It requires an agency to contact the State Personnel Board, the LBO, and the state fiscal officer to request a revised salary funding level if the agency determines that the salary funding level is insufficient, and then requires some additional reporting. Again, I'm going to continue the conversation with Chairman Hobson on this bill, and just certainly want to keep it alive at this time. So are there any questions on this bill? Seeing none. Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Next bill is House Bill 1420. This comes from our friends in the museum realm, and basically the problem has been explained to me is that in certain exhibits and situations where they are looking for bids, they might get the lowest bid, for example, on lighting, but that lighting might not be the best lighting for a Picasso or other piece of priceless art or something like that. So in this situation, we've got a request that on lines 784 through 800, this is the only change of the bill, that we provide them with an exemption to allow them to make that determination. And then we've also got in here language of reporting. So they will make reports back to the Senate and House Appropriations Committee, the chairs of AET on both House and Senate side, and the chair of Public Procurement Review Board. And hopefully this will satisfy their dilemma on this. So brief explanation. I know Senator Blunt may or may not be able to vote on this bill, but I think this is something that can improve their situation. So questions, Senator Williams.
Without someone here that may not be able to clarify, but lighting can run a spectrum of dollars, and what spectrum you're looking at. Is that something that should maybe be clarified in bid specifications, or is that degree of ambiguity allowed?
So there are, Senator Blunt may be able to answer that question a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize. Does that help? So,
I mean, again, we have a lot of complications with procurement. I just want to make sure the accountability and transparency piece is maintained and it just, okay, that's an explanation. So thank you.
and so just for clarification too, this is I believe the only bill regarding procurement of any type that we're addressing this session. The plan is that some of the issues that have been brought to my attention, we're going to look at out of session and try to make some determinations on those. But this one, exhibit specific, had some needs that were brought to my attention. And so we're trying to remedy that issue for now. So if there are no further questions for a motion. Motion of title sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Next bill, House Bill 1487. Shelby, I believe you've got a little map that'll help with this. This involves Capital Complex Improvement District boundaries. And so I'm gonna hand you one out here. And then we've also got back here somewhere, it's over here. Vanna beside me is gonna hold the map for me. Vanna Barrett. So he's holding it upside down. So, but so anyway, everyone in this room is very familiar with the CCID district. This comes to us from the House. You should be getting a copy in a form that you can take with you. But I wanted to have a larger one here because as you look at this handout, sometimes it's a little difficult to kind of see here. The expansion area that's being proposed to the north is the boundaries were determined based upon a precinct, and so as presented to me, what this does is it pulls in mainly the Kroger area, so Canton Mart Road right there. There has been a significant number of incidents at that particular Kroger, and Kroger in particular is a very important company for Jackson. We have other grocery stores, I think, that are fantastic, but when we think about the security of the people within this district, I think certainly the Kroger area is one where anything we can do to provide some enhanced security there would be appreciated. My question when I got the bill from the House had to do with the part that's being removed. And I really and truly, I don't have a complete understanding of that except to say, and we did have, there he is, Commissioner Tyndall here, as was presented to me, not by the commissioner, but if you look at the line there up against the brown, there's a railroad track right there. And I believe there's been some difficulty in the Capitol Police making maneuvers and getting into and out of that area because of how the railroad track falls. This, as I've told you many times, is additional education and thought committee. This bill does have a reverse repealer in it. If anyone in the room or anyone along the process has strong feelings that this area should stay in the CCID, I would consider that a friendly amendment at any time. I just am not familiar enough with the area, and I'm not sure if the commissioner, has a thought on it either. Probably similar to my thoughts on it. It's a small area, I think, with a very small population, from what I was told from the House on it. So, any comments or?
From our perspective, the main thing is making sure that we get the necessary funding to hire the necessary officers to cover whatever area it is. And if that area stays in there, as long as it makes geographic sense, I think that's important. So we're fine with any of the boundaries as long as
we're fine with any of the boundaries, again, as long as we get the funding for the officers necessary to patrol.
And the bill does have a reverse repealer, so I'm welcome to entertain thoughts on that issue right now, or as the bill moves along here. So Senator Blunt, that area, I think, pretty well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the area in red is in my district, and some of the area in green is in my district, and I do understand the bill has a reverse repealer. I believe the western boundary of the red space is Bailey Avenue, and that's the road that runs right in front of the medical mall, where UMC has facilities. So we'll just keep talking about that.
Right.
I would say, again, to follow up on what Commissioner Tyndall said, and also on the first bill that was on our agenda this morning, I believe the CCID is an infrastructure program and has been very successful. And the Capitol Police have been very successful. The Jackson delegation 2 years ago, prior to all the drama that we had last year, supported the expansion of the Capitol Police to help. And I think just maybe this afternoon, y'all are doing something with JPD and the Hinds County Sheriff's Office, and that partnership is getting better. But I just want to make a plea to anybody here. If we continue to expand the Capitol Police, which I believe we should do, if we continue to put more financial obligations on the CCID, we need to come up with the money. We don't want to put more on the police or create an expectation that we're going to embark on a big blight removal program. And when they don't have the money right now to speedily do the projects that they are doing a good job on right now, like State Street right now. So I don't have a problem with this. Representative Crudup called me about it last night. He's working on something about this, but I just want to make a plea to provide the resources to do the good work that they're doing. And I'd like to speak to folks at the medical mall about the red area, but we can move it along.
And as always, I appreciate your input on this. And I think the goal of both the House and the Senate on this is, if we are to make some expansions, to try to do it in, a small area, as small an area as we can. I think using a precinct, for example, as kind of a dividing line, instead of just using, an arbitrary kind of road or something like that, might be a good thing to consider for, future discussions and that kind of thing. So, but again, we will continue to have the conversations on it. I'm hoping to not have a whole lot of input where there's a desire to expand it well beyond the ability of DPS to maintain that area. And so I'm going to try to continue to have conversations with DPS and with the Chairman of Appropriations to see, what we can do without putting too much of a burden on their team, because they are doing a fantastic job at this time. So are there any further questions on the bill? Seeing none, is there a motion? Motion.
If we don't amend it, it goes to the governor. That's got an automatic repealer, but we need to amend it.
I thought it had a reverse repealer in it.
does, but if we don't amend it, it goes to the governor.
Yeah. I mean, if it's got a,
Doesn't go back to the House if we don't amend it.
so with the reverse repealer in it, how is it going to not go back to the House?
It goes to the governor if we don't amend it.
Yes. Since
And the reverse repealer would stay in there, so y'all can work on it, Mr. Chairman, but just so that,
Right.
so the bill would have to go back to the House for concurrence or non-concurrence.
right,
They cannot concur and we can continue to work on it.
right. But I'm still confused as to, how it would go to the governor with a reverse repealer in
If we
it.
don't
and not-
amend the House bill, it goes to the governor.
Even if we pass on the floor with a reverse repealer in it.
Yes, sir. There's nothing in our rules that says reverse repealer stops the bill.
Okay, okay. So we have an amendment to add the red area back in to keep it alive for longer. So all those in favor of Senator Blunt's amendment? Any opposed? Okay, so now we're back on final passage. And so strike all would be we have a motion to adopt strike all. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moving along, number 7 is the Inflex bill, and this is another strike all. The strike all inserts the Senate language of Senate Bill 2830 as passed. And then we've added a provision in lines 238 through 244, which deals with an issue we found from Burns Dirt. Nick Parrish and I served on the SWIB board, the newly constituted SWIB board, and he was very instrumental in helping the process of accelerate formation and SWIB and discussions about Inflex. And we found that his company that has been very involved in this process is being told that they don't qualify for the use of Inflex to expand their company. And I didn't understand the language. I still don't understand why they're not being qualified, but we're going to fix that for them. So in line 238 through 244, it just clarifies and includes basically combination language. So in 238, a new warehouse, distribution enterprise, and/or storage business, or some combination thereof. So this combination thereof is the technicality that they're having trouble with. And I believe this will solve the problem and allow them to expand their business and do what Inflex was intended to do. So that's the only change versus the bill that we passed. And Nick and Nick and Pablo from Vicksburg area have done a great job as the representatives from the Lieutenant Governor, and I appreciate their service, on the SWIB board, and hope we can remedy this to fix that problem. So long explanation of a small problem, but I'll yield for any questions. Seeing none, is there a motion? Title sufficient, do pass, all strike off. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Okay, bill number 8 is another one. It's we just are inserting Senate Bill 2713 as passed the Senate. You'll remember this, the Delta Regional Health Authority bill that dealt with the hospitals, and we had a robust discussion on this on the floor, and made some adjustments and changes. The House did not take up the bill. They just sent us a task force. And my understanding is that the parties involved have no desire, the participants, Dick Coward and the other people involved, are to a point where they would like a decision on it. So they're not interested in a task force. So we're keeping the concept of the bill alive exactly as we passed on the floor. So no new language, just exactly like 2713. So all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so moving on to Senate Bill 1641. This is from our economic developers, and those of you who've been involved, as we were talking a second ago about SWIB, this is to extend public record exemption to public bodies like we do for MDA and Accelerate. There have been some recent projects where our cities and other groups like that have had concern that they've been involved in conversations that needed to be kept confidential until a project was secured. And this is a suggestion from, I believe, the Lieutenant Governor's office and Representative Lamar to extend this protection regarding these projects. So any questions on the bill? Senator Blunt?
Does the exemption apply to conversations prior to the project where you're trying to attract somebody and then end if you get the project or the project goes elsewhere, or does the exemption continue on after the project has either been?
I believe the bill has a language for both. I think so on lines 12 and 13, the provisions of this act for a period of 2 years after receipt of the information by the public body is kind of the timeline right there. And then as we go into 21 through 26, the public body shall be exempt from the provision of the of the act during the period of review and negotiation on a project proposal for a period of 30 days after approval, disapproval, or abandonment of the proposal, not to exceed 1 year by the public body in writing. So I believe it covers both of your questions in that.
What are we taking out? What's the strike, the asterisk language?
Senator Baird lets us know that changes MDA to the word public body.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Barrett. Any further questions on the bill? Seeing none, is there a motion? Motion of title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Senate Bill 1644 has to do with ambulance service providers. This is an issue that any of you that receive Jackson News would be very familiar with. We have ambulance contract services that are provided within regions. And because that is an exclusive service, when there's an emergency and those ambulance services are tapped beyond their ability to respond, right now what's happening is there's a delay. One of our lobbyists who happens to be in the room, her former husband waited an hour and a half for an ambulance and passed away. There are other incidents that are just as bad. And what this basically just does is it says that the service must contain a provision that requires the contracting provider to have a mutual aid agreement with other ambulance service providers to respond to 911 and natural disaster calls and provide service in the county or municipality during times and circumstances when the contracting provider is experiencing shortages of equipment or personnel that will cause a delay in responding to calls for service. There were several reports of this. WLBT, I went back last night and had a chance to review a story where they said that there was in a report they did in October of 2023, there was a 50-50 chance of an ambulance responding in a timely manner when they did their report. That included the fact that if they have equipment failures and other things like that, they do not have to state that they did not respond timely. The qualifications are that the ambulances should be there with 18 minutes. And in a particular child drowning, I believe it was 2 hours. So it's your fault. But question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur or agree with this can be a problem. My one concern is that if you only have one ambulance provider in that area, if they don't, the way I read this, if they don't sign if they don't commit to signing a contract with another company, then they're going to be out. And I wonder about rural counties, particularly where there may not be too many services, that they may be further hamstrung because nobody wants to do it at that point. They can't enter into a contract with the ambulance company. And I'm just thinking if, wondering, would it be better if we just put in that the county has the authority? They're not requiring them to enter into a mutual agreement, but maybe it would give them the authority to reach out to another ambulance provider for kind of ad hoc services. I don't know if ambulance companies do that. I'd like to know.
And I think the word must right there is a better word than shall, on line 17. And again, as presented to me, I think the problem is that they're basically not allowed to respond to another area. As I was told, if there's an emergency and, say we were talking about CCID, wherever the line ends, you can't respond over that line because of the contract agreement, and if you have another ambulance that's sitting, 3 minutes away, when this other area is tapped and unable to do it, this is the vehicle the House sent that is to remedy that problem. And I'll be glad to talk to you more in detail about the language on it if we need to do some clarification. But I think we all share the intent and I apologize for the stammering on the discussion on it, but this is one of those that, it just is not acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally familiar with a situation or two.
Yep.
In rural areas where it's taken, one case, I think it was 6 hours to get somebody.
Right.
So it is a problem, and I'm glad that there's a measure before us to look at how to correct that problem. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't make it broader to just allow the county, create the law that would say that counties or cities, municipalities are allowed to contract on an ad hoc basis with other entities and agree to pay whatever their market rate is.
Right.
And if other ambulance providers know that, even though you may have a regular ambulance provider for your county or municipality, you're not prohibited if they're not responding, or they just say, we're going to be 3 hours getting there, that
Right.
they can't call another provider that's closer by and say, look, we'll pay you your rate.
Because that is what is happening. So, 911 call has been made, and then there are calls being made to other providers that are known to be closer, and they are just prohibited, at this point from responding, even if they want to. So I think you and I are on the same track on this, and as we always say on this, we need to give it careful thought so that we get the language correct.
Yeah.
And
Would
I
you,
think we could.
yeah, would you be, I hate to just stick a reverse repealer in it for that, but I also think I would love to get more information from MML, MAS, and ambulance companies to know how that system works a little bit better. So if necessary, we can make a proper amendment to it.
That's,
I think we hopefully would all agree that there's some devastating
and a desire to-
consequences for lack of response. Just due to the fact that one ambulance company is too busy, or they're too far away and they can't get there.
So if agreeable, why don't we try to talk about the language,
to
see
the
if we can
floor.
get it instead of,
Yeah.
and if we can't get that fixed, we'll put the reverse
Yeah.
repealer on the floor.
That'll be fine.
Um,
We can
yeah,
do
and
it for, but I hope
We will
you
work
can
on
help
it.
me
Yeah.
get together with some folks that can
Yeah.
give us some
And
information.
we've got some
Yeah.
very interested parties in the room, I think, who can be of great help to that.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
again, great discussion on a great need. And are there additional questions on the bill? Seeing none, is there a motion? Title sufficient, do pass. Is the motion, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that bill will be reported. Okay, the last bill comes to us from freshman legislator Representative Grady from the House side. Similar kind of tragic situation that we're addressing here has to do with first responders. This is House Bill 1697. First responders who are killed in the line of duty. Right now, and I'll give this example here. So what I do in my business is if someone, if we have a female staff member who is pregnant, we pay for their maternity leave. We're not required to do that, but we choose to do that as a company. And what has been brought to our attention on this is that when an officer or public servant is killed in the line of duty, the county typically, stops the pay because the injured or killed party is no longer working. That puts a pretty significant burden on the family who is trying to, keep bills paid, wait on life insurance proceeds to come in, other things that are available out there. So what this bill would do is it would allow the supervisors at their discretion, so we're not mandating this, to extend benefits or pay for the fallen officer for up to 60 days. The House version had, I believe, 30 days in it, and we're amending it to extend that to 60 days at discretion of the Board of Supervisors. So are there any questions on the bill? Senator Williams?
So as it is now, the supervisors wouldn't have an option but to stop payment at time of death. Is that
That's my understanding.
okay?
And because you're paid by the hour, you paid salary for the time that you're doing, and once
Employment ceases.
you're
payment.
deceased, you're not accruing any time, and so I think it's just a way to kind of fill the gap,
Yes.
for a little bit of time. And, and I think this will be, hopefully it's one of these bills that we never need to find out if if we needed it, or if it's, if we don't have this happen, then this difficult decision will never have to be made.
But it's good to have the option.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
further questions? Seeing none, is there a motion? We have title sufficient due pass strikeout as a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that completes our meeting. I hope to not meet again. But we know how that goes. Yeah, so is there a motion? Thank you.
We've already done language.
So we just